Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris, here by myself for a quick intro today. Hope everyone's out there is doing okay. I hope everyone has enjoyed the new Blink album. Hopefully, on the next episode, Nick and I will get into some thoughts on that one. For today's episode, I spoke to singer David Michael Frank, who has just recently put out a new single, Talk to Myself, but we spoke a couple of weeks ahead of this. And David's been out recently on like his own organised tour called the Private Party Tour, which had kind of like a pre-party at When We Were Young Fest at the weekend that he was telling me about. And speaking of which, any listeners that made it out to that festival, I hope you had a good one. I was very jealous to not be there. Some of those sets looked amazing. I mean, it was almost like my perfect lineup. It was basically, for my personal taste, it's missing Quiet Drive and Social Distortion. Apart from that, it had like all my favorite bands there. It looked absolutely amazing. Anyway, I am going to stop rambling and let's jump into today's interview. All right, catch you for a new episode soon. Hey, David. I'm Chris, by the way.
Nice to meet you, David.
Yeah, likewise. I'm based over in the UK, just outside of London. Whereabouts are you based?
I'm in Nashville.
Are you from that part of the world, or did you kind of move there for music purposes?
I moved here. I was in Los Angeles for the last few years, and I loved it there. The weather's perfect. But yeah, when it came down time to sort of like, get a house, you can't afford to live in LA. It's really expensive, and raise a family. I have a baby. And Nashville's just far more comfortable for that. I wanted to be in a music city. Nashville just became the solution.
How have you found like balancing parenthood and kind of working in the industry that you do?
It's tough. We my wife and I both work from home. She's a YouTuber, and we pass the baby back and forth. But I do professional audio, so it's a lot harder, I think, for me to watch him while like Blippi's on in the background while I'm like singing or recording or
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been cool and it's inspiring to see like a little mind start to put it together. And like, I'm not going to force music on him, but he's pretty musical. So it's pretty cool.
Okay. It's in his genes, clearly. Yeah, man. And like Blippy is distracting at the best of times. I mean, I don't have kids myself, but I have nephews. So I'm aware of.
You're familiar with Blippy.
Yeah. It can be a tough watch, I find, but whatever keeps them happy, right?
Absolutely.
Speaking of your music, you've recently put out a song called "Fuck Me Over." How's that one kind of been received?
Great. So it's all a part of a bigger batch of music. Starting at the top of the year, I sort of stopped chasing virality and singing Dream On covers to gain new followers, which is a great way to do it. But I started only doing independent music with all of my time and recording my originals. And so I put out So What last month. And I chose Fuck Me Over for the second single. It's a bit of a rebellion from that one. And I know that there's a struggle with each song sort of redefining how a listener will see you as an artist. So I'm antsy to already redefine myself again, especially because I knew Fuck Me Over was going to be riskier. The first song, So What, was sort of middle of the line, mid-tempo, energetic rock that'll like the rock people will like, but the like soft people won't be like, that's too much for me. It sort of was going to fit for everyone. Fuck Me Over was like a little darker, like Demi Lovato pop rock, but it also has an explicit lyric in it. So it's very on like pointed, but also like a heart-wrenching kind of a song. It's sort of a lot to listen to. I love the song and it means so much to me, but it's a mood. It's not necessarily like driving with the top down in the sunshine kind of a song. So I keep trying to reintroduce myself in other ways because I like a lot of different genres and a lot of the music is all over the place. So I'm excited to to put out my next one, which will be a little more inspiring and hopeful and acoustic, but also in sort of like the dashboard confessional lane instead of like
Nice.
the dark Demi Lovato or pop rock lane. So yeah, a lot of styles, but it's been extremely well received, and it's exciting to put it out.
You mentioned the next one. Is that Talk to Myself?
You're out. Let's know. You want to leak it? You can leak it. You have leaked.
Well,
But
I tell you what, I will. So that's coming out on October 20th, and I'll put out this episode just after that's come out. So let's just say that that song is out. So I've heard it. So we can kind of discuss it a little bit, and it's out there
okay.
for the listeners to hear now. So let's go with that angle.
You could put this out a few days earlier too if you want. I will already
Okay.
probably
Okay.
be doing a pre-save campaign, so it's all good.
Great.
And
Yeah, nice man. Like, and I know what you mean with like the dashboard vibes with that one. Are you going to continue releasing more music as the year goes on, or is this the last one for a while?
it's been a bit of a sprint because this tour is so involved and so time consuming.
Yeah,
So I did have to step away from the album a little bit, and now I'm sort of multitasking both, of course. Um, but I know that the end of the year is a little slower as far as releases go. But I'm not kidding. I actually have 25 songs all at the finish line.
oh wow, okay.
Most of them just need vocals, but the way I recorded everything was very like all the drums, all the bass, all the guitars, and
Yeah,
like everything is sort of sitting right there. And then I push So What forward and I push Fuck Me Over forward. So at this moment, I have 5 songs done, mixed, mastered, done, no more changes. I have the best
nice.
mastering engineer in the entire world, Ted Jensen, mastering them. And those 5 are ready to be released, and I'll probably start teasing those sounds. If something were to go viral, I could release it. Um, but I plan to start doing a very creative, hopefully, strategic release strategy. Instead of saying, hey, my album release date is this, I
Yeah,
want things to be ready. And then I want to try to get things to go viral. And if I can get things to go viral, I will already be in my distributor, ready to go. The sounds will be populated, and I can turn it on because we're in a
yeah,
very much a world where it's not super helpful to be like, hi, my pre-save is a month from now. It's really more instant gratification of a world right now.
sure,
So
sure.
I plan to be a little more shoot from the hip with the songs that are done and ready to go. And then once there's a fire started, then I'll set an album release date.
Tell me a little bit about the this private party tour you've got coming up, because it looks like you're sort of taking a different approach to just kind of the standard way of booking a tour. And what's the thinking behind it?
Well, I wonder if the UK is a similar struggle, but in America, the typical way to tour, of course, is an agent is the
Yep,
one that has the relations with the venues and the promoters,
sure.
and they go and they pitch shows and whatnot, and then deals come in, and it's super competitive right now. So the more people want to tour than our venues are available, and as a result, that drives income down. At the same time, venues are collecting more money from artists than ever before. You're starting to see a lot of speak about the income disparity, about all of that, and um,
Yeah,
promoters will keep thousands of dollars for printing flyers and finding an opener, and the venues will hold thousands of dollars for their expenses, write off all kinds of things that maybe they weren't even in existence at the show. And
yeah,
then merch cuts is a very big issue, and then they're making the money on food and drink. So I was struggling. I was begging for tours. I had a handshake deal with an agent. I was begging, begging, begging. How about this tour? My friends would announce and say, "Oh, this tour, maybe this tour. Oh, this will be great." And then all of a sudden I was getting nothing. And we found out, my wife and I found out that we were pregnant. We knew we were going
yeah,
to have a baby at the end of the year, and I wasn't getting the tours, and I was having the songs getting close to finished, and it was like, what do I do? Do
yeah.
I put out, not do we have the baby and then I put out music next year and we wait a few months? Like, what do I do? So I came up with a crazy idea, and the idea was this: there's all kinds of rental venues out available. Like if you were to book a wedding, you would go research a venue available for rent, and
Yep.
There's all kinds of venues from like really nice performance spaces, theaters, churches on a Tuesday. In New York, I have a mall that closes at 7, and then I have the underground of the mall booked out. There's all kinds of venues that are honestly nicer than the regular dirty rock venues and cleaner, and some of them have better lighting and sound because they're usually more for film. Um,
Yeah.
so I for about $1,000, maybe a little bit less, but $1,000 a venue, I rent the venue and
Yeah.
I own 100% of the ticket sales. It'll all come to me, but
Yeah.
now I have to do everything else. So I
Sure.
can set up food, I can set up drink, I can get any additional vendors like that, get the proper insurance, get the licenses needed, but it's my event. No one is telling me what to do. In fact, I have no rules except for the state laws. And
Yeah.
I actually think it's a far better, even though it takes money to invest in yourself at the beginning, the amount of money that is withheld by the venues and the agents and the promoters before an artist
Yeah.
gets paid
Yeah.
is thousands of dollars. And I
Yeah.
upfront $1,000, and now I'm in a different situation. And I think it scales down. If you're an artist that only has 10 fans, you can rent a small room. I'm renting rooms that are like 200 people, so that's a
Yeah.
lot. But if
Yeah.
I had 2,000 people, it's actually not that expensive to rent very large warehouse spaces. So of course that creates all kinds of new things, like all kinds of logistics, like the crew and bringing my own sound and lighting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it. I'm doing all of it. And I am creating a tour that is unlike a tour any other artist has ever done because it's the most personal thing ever. And just like if you were to come over to my house, I would make you a cocktail and make you dinner and make you feel like I would be a host. And I
Yeah.
have that's just a little bit who I am. And now I'm literally playing
You want to bring
host
it into that world.
across the United States. And I also see artists complain about not getting shows booked in the cities that their fans are. I literally went through my fan list and I chose the
Yeah.
cities that had the most fans.
Yeah.
And I routed it and I chose the days and the dates and every single thing. And sure, I put a bunch of money on my credit card and tried to get tickets on sale as soon as I could to try to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not have to pay the bill. And I did have to pay the bill, but then I got tickets on sale and I broke even,
Amazing.
which was really heartwarming. And this all started because, and I missed saying this at the beginning of my story, but the agent that I was sort of working with, he told me he didn't believe in me. He told me that
Really?
he didn't want to book me a tour until I released more original music because I hadn't released it in a while. But I've toured the US 9 or 10 times. I've toured Europe and the UK twice.
Really?
I have a lot of, yeah, I have a lot of fans,
Yeah.
but I have not been as active, especially under my name, because for the last decade I've been under band names, and I just switched to my name a year ago, and I only have now I only have 3 songs under my name, despite
Yeah.
150
Yeah.
songs under band names.
What band names were you under?
My previous band name was called Future Sunsets, and I held on to that as the last iteration of a band that was 4 guys put into a boy band. And then we had bad management. We signed a horrible deal, and we tried to get out of it, and they tried to let us out, and cease and desist
Okay.
letters and ugliness. And then 3 guys as an independent band, and we were doing great things, and we were
Yeah.
touring the U.S. and Europe. And then one of the band members changed our social media passwords and held it hostage for a large amount of
Oh
money and had
shit.
mafia ties, and we
Oh
didn't want
fuck.
to.
Okay.
And there were like actual threats against us and our families and my ex-girlfriend's family at the time. And then 3 guys becomes 2 guys, and now we are called Future Sunsets, even though had to leave behind what felt like all my songs that I loved in that 3-person band. And then my guitar player fell in love with a Norwegian model, just like every band. You lose your member to that.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
moved to Norway. We're on great terms. He was a groomsman at my wedding, and he's an
Okay.
incredible photographer.
Yeah.
And now I was the last remaining member of Future Sunsets, and I held on for that to that band name just because I owned some shirts for far too long.
Yeah.
And I switched over to my name a year ago.
That's quite the story. How did Pizza Hut get involved in your upcoming tour? Was it were you just like, hey, look, I've got a couple of TikTok followers here. You might want to get some
It's sort of
coverage.
like
Is it
that.
that way or?
It's a little bit. So like you can understand I'm an independent artist, and
Yeah.
to be an independent artist, you need to be able to not only make music. In fact, I'm not trying to talk about myself, but to advice to any artist, your music, of course, has to be phenomenal. Because now with streaming, it's an even playing field. You or Bruno Mars, they have the choice to listen on the
Yeah.
same platform, whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be phenomenal, but you also need to understand music production, photography, videography, content creation, social media, marketing, business. So you asked me, how did Pizza Hut get involved? Through all of this, I've learned a lot of the different skills, but one of the things is social following is value, and you can create content that is great for a company. So I've luckily built up a decent following, and
Yeah.
I've been able to work with some really incredible brands to help them do marketing stuff. So like Microsoft. And I mean, even the Sony headphones I'm wearing right now, they gave to
Yeah.
me and I did with a campaign where I did like a looping video with my headphone case and I like did a song that was on a Sony Records artist and I promoted their headphones. Um, so those are like real things that I do. And then to do
Yeah.
those, you have to make I make pitch decks. So if there's a brand that makes sense to reach out to, I'll reach out to them. I have a person that I often work with brand deals. So basically, yeah, I made a pitch deck to Pizza Hut, and they loved the idea that I was cheesy in my pitch deck, and I literally said that, and I told them about the tour and talked about thinking outside of the box. I know, cheesy, but they loved it and they wanted to be a part of the tour and gift me free pizza for my VIP. And
Amazing.
that's awesome to have like validation from a company like Pizza Hut that says,
Yeah.
"Hey, we believe in you and what you're doing, and we want to be a part of it." And Pizza Hut's actually not the only company that's came on for VIP. I have two more companies that are on. By the time this airs, they'll be announced, so I can say it. But
Sure.
there's a smoothie and juice company called Nectar Juice Smoothies, and
Okay.
they're giving my VIP all free uh cold pressed juices and smoothies that'll be like delicious and healthy
Yeah.
to combat the pizza. But then also Insomnia Cookies is like a delicious cookie company, and they're giving my VIP all free cookies. They actually care about them being warm, so I have to like make sure they're warm. I also have to make sure the cold juices are cold.
Right.
So for both of those, yeah, I've got really exciting offers that I can my VIP, like I said, I'm playing host, and now my VIP gets like free food and cookies and smoothies, and I don't know, it's sort of awesome.
I notice is are you doing like kind of when we were young fest pre-party as part of this as well? I read something about that.
Yeah. So last year I attended the festival last year just as a
Yeah.
fan, and
Yeah.
people would recognize me. They're like, "You're that guy
Oh,
from TikTok," and I was like,
yeah,
"I'm
yeah.
sorry, I am that guy. I know." Um, and it planted a little seed in my head of like I should put an event on. I should do. Everybody was trying to figure out what to do the Friday before When We Were Young Fest, and I was like, I should
Yeah.
do a concert. So when I started to plan this tour, I actually forgot I had When We Were Young tickets for this year. So I started routing the tour, and I was like going up to Canada and Toronto, and I was like, and then I was like, I looked at my calendar, and I was like, oh no, I have to be in Vegas in October. I have tickets.
Yeah.
I have a hotel
Yeah.
room. So I scrapped my original tour routing, and I planned the tour to get me to Vegas the Friday of When We Were Young Fest. And
Hmm.
so, yes, it is a regular private party tour show. And I found a venue that is very close walking distance to the festival grounds, that has a rooftop stage. It overlooks the strip. And it's a bigger venue than my regular venues. So I changed the name of the show. It's not just Private Party Tour, it's the official, unofficial pre party for When We Were Young Fest and TwitchCon. And it's an open night before the festival to come out and meet like-minded individuals and see the Private Party Tour, as well as special guests from the festival and from TwitchCon. So I'm like I'm working on lining up guests that have the night off that can come be a special guest. I can provide them VIP services and free drinks, and I can compensate them if they're ticket sales worthy. And then I've got a bunch of guests that are lined up for that. So it's basically my show a little bit later at night in
Yeah.
Vegas, and with a slightly different title. But it's just my show, but bigger than my show.
Are you able to like divulge any of the guests that you might have for that? Like when you say like lining up guests for it, do you mean people who are involved at at the festival themselves?
Yeah, not in this very moment because I'm still working on contracts with a few of them, but
Okay,
I'm in talks with a bunch of people that are performing at the festival.
amazing.
Um, and it's actually been easier to get the drummers of some of the bands, which is actually really cool. I have a drum kit set up, and
Yeah, I see.
one of
Yeah.
the things I have for the night is a DJ. And so we'll have sort of the emo DJ element. But for any of the special guest artists, they'll come and they'll sing a song or whatever. But I hope my headphones are falling out. Hopefully I don't hang up on you.
I
Okay. But
think we're okay.
good. So I'll be able to actually set up the drummers of some of the When We Were Young Fest bands to jam along with the DJ and do like a drummer versus DJ battle, which is something
Oh
I
my
came up
God.
with, but I've never seen before. But like when I go to a show, I watch the drummer and I'm just so excited about that idea. So yeah.
Oh, that sounds fun. And speaking of the festival, who are you looking forward at, as going as a fan, who are you looking forward to seeing this year in particular?
Last year I had like certain people in mind, and then I ended up just sort of like letting the festival take me where it was going to go.
Mhm.
Um, so really, I'm pretty open. It'll be great to see Blink and Green Day, of course, the headliners, but I have some friends that are playing. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
excited to see games we play,
Oh nice.
Magnolia
Yeah.
Park, and I don't know. I'm 30 Seconds to Mars will be cool. I'm just really excited.
Yeah. It's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah.
No, that would be cool. How do you know Magnolia Park? Have you toured with them before, or have you collaborated in any way? How have you crossed
Just
paths
the
with them?
internet.
Right.
I've just spoken with Josh in DMs. We're
Yeah.
looking forward to hanging out in Vegas. The internet's crazy because you can watch people, they can watch you, and you can sort of you could chat, and then you meet in person. You're like, yo, I feel like I know you, but I don't, but I know you. What's up? And then like you're
Yeah.
homies. I get so excited for people's success, and I feel like that's not like a big part of this industry. Like honestly, if I were to like be honest about it, I feel like a lot of this industry has an ugliness of jealousy, and you'll
Yeah.
see it backstage. It's competitive. I fucking hate it. So
Yeah.
I get so excited. So yeah, I was seeing like Josh's videos blow up, and like that, well, it's the whole band, but that makes me so excited for them that they're like putting so much heart into their art, and then they make content that also still is in line with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just so cool. And then it's blown up, and that's the key. It's tough to make content. So when I see people win, I'm like, fuck yeah, like, good job, man. Yeah.
I mean, what's your kind of experience of it like now? Because obviously, as I touched upon before, like quite big thing on TikTok and stuff. Like it, I can't imagine. I spoke to I don't know if you know Christian Gates, who's kind of big on TikTok as well. He was on the show a few weeks
I don't know
back.
Christian Gates. No.
He's coming up in that he's almost sort of emo rap kind of sound, and he's quite
Cool.
big in LA. But like he was just telling me like just because he has a couple of million followers on TikTok, just like what the experience is like every time he uploads a video, and just like he used to leave the notifications on, and it used to just obviously he'd be so sucked in, and then like if a video didn't reach so many likes, that kind of affected his mental health and stuff. Is that something you experience, or
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, when you're hot, you're hot. You think you're hot. You think you are
yeah,
the shit. You're on top of the world, and when you're not, you're not. And the algorithms, much like going to Vegas, excuse me, much like going to Vegas, are uh playing with our dopamine and our psyche in that way. Um, so I have had unhealthy behaviors with it before. And my wife does a pretty good job of being like, yo, stop it. And then I'm like, all
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Because you do start to recognize your worth based on those things, and that's not your worth because
sure,
each person is each view is a person, each like is a person. And if your music and your art connects with them, that is priceless.
hmm
And I from one person having your lyric tattooed on them and or hearing their story. So I do try to ground myself with that. And I have separated my brain from it a lot lately. And I'm sort of in a little bit of a down moment right now in the algorithm, but I know the algorithm's fucking with me. But I know that it's easier to post, and it's always been this way. It's easier to post covers and have them blow up. I did one the other day where I reposted one and it did well. But
Yeah.
the originals is harder, and I know that, and it's just keep throwing stuff at the wall. But you do have to have very thick skin about that not being your worth. If something doesn't blow up, it doesn't mean the song is bad. It just
Yeah.
means that maybe you didn't post at the right time of the day, you didn't have the right caption, or the algorithm just didn't give you the lucky strike of the day.
Yeah.
And post it again in the future. So yeah, those are real things. I understand that, and I mean you probably do a little bit as well too. I mean
Of course.
you're in the content world. It's tough.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And we get very sucked into it, but it's it's
Yeah,
easy to do.
yeah,
Hmm.
it is easy to do. The really just that each person's a person is really valuable. But then also, if you start to think about it, if you go back and think business about it, again, it's still sort of like that. I hate to refer to it as like the value of a customer financially, but like the problem is for me, and you also are on Spotify and streaming platforms, that we're told our music is worth 0.003 cents. Like
Yeah.
if 100,000 people listen to my song, my bank account and my brain is all told I am worth $300.
Yeah.
So that is confusing. So the value is not right. So you do have to, as a business, have some way to put the a value equivalent out there. So it could be a T-shirt, and or it
Yeah.
could be a Patreon, and something like that. Somebody that has connected with your art, and you maybe put a smile on their face or made them feel a little bit less alone. They're supporting. They have the ability to support you to $20 or more than what they think they're supporting you by 0.003 cents by listening to your song, but like it's so watered down that
Yeah.
you're not actually supporting me by listening to the song. If you want to support, there's other ways to do it. So yeah, it sucks that's sort of where we gain our value. Just
Yeah. I know
do
what you
your best,
mean.
try to separate yourself from it, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Listen, man, I know we're nearly out of time here, but is it cool? I just ask you a couple more questions, and then I'll kind of we can wrap this
Yeah,
up, and
yeah.
I'll let you get on with your day. Um, what you mentioned touring the UK and Europe before. When did you get to the UK? Which stage of the career was it? Was it when in the more recent years, or was it when the boy band was a thing? Well, like, tell me a little bit about that while we have time.
The very first tour, the day that my bandmate changed the passwords on us, we were flying to Europe for the tour like 2 days later. We ended up still flying. We hoped he would show up at the airport and he didn't. And then
Oh,
we
okay.
toured. We did the rest of the tour, and people sort of knew to like not ask about where'd the drummer go. And we did
Oh
the rest of
man,
the tour,
okay.
but we weren't able to promote the tour from the band socials, and it was a very weird situation. That was the first tour. The second
Okay.
European tour was actually with my wife. I convinced her. She's a YouTuber and
Yeah.
she's not a musician, but you mentioned earlier that my baby might have music in his blood. My
Yeah.
wife is from a line of musicians. Her dad is literally always playing them. He played with Kelly Clarkson at Bridgestone Arena in downtown Nashville last night. Her
Oh
dad,
wow.
and she grew up
Okay.
with going to her dad's shows with Faith Hill and all like Sheryl Crow and all the big people that he was touring
Right.
with in his earlier
Okay.
days.
Wow.
So she's an incredible singer, but she's a YouTube. She talks
Yeah.
about social issues.
Yeah.
So when we started dating, I begged her to go on tour with me, which she would never do that now. But she said yes, and we did a 27 city US tour and a 10 city European tour together. She sang with me on stage, and then I asked her to marry me in Italy.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and so that was my second European tour. Um,
Okay.
and so yeah, I'm already looking at venues like my style of like renting venues this next year. I mean, I'll have a
Hmm.
baby, so for me, I'm gonna be doing in the spring probably fly shows where me and my drummer will do a short run of shows. So I'm looking at in the US, like Seattle and the Pacific Northwest and that
Yep.
area, and just go and
Yep.
do like 2 shows on a weekend. And then I think I'm going to do a quick UK run, probably in like April or so, is my hopeful. But I've picked out some venues that are rentals that are cheap. And I don't
Oh,
know
nice.
if a regular venue and tour would pay me better or whatever, but I am starting to look that for, you know, 800 pounds or whatever, I can rent a venue and do it myself. I might do that unless I get the right opportunities. That's a lot of logistics. I don't know how to like do all the stuff in the UK. I guess I got to drive on the correct side of the road or whatever. Like,
True.
sounds like a
Yeah.
nightmare. But I'll figure it out. But yeah, I think I'll probably do a quick little UK run next year, come back. Maybe then I'll go do a little Europe run, come back, and then I'll probably do a bigger tour in the summer.
Yeah, I guess I'll just finish on this quite broad question. Just real quick, just tell me some of the bands that you came up on, like you grew up on, who are like the most influential to you, and then maybe finish by telling me which artists are impressing you at the moment.
So my music and upbringing is pretty broad. I got really lucky. There was a kid in my elementary school class, and his dad was in a famous rock band called Heart. They had a
Oh
song like
yeah, yeah,
Barracuda and Magic
yeah,
Man and
yeah.
Crazy on You. And so I my
Alone,
my
great song.
soccer my exactly my soccer coach and my guitar teacher was a classic rock and roll Hall of Fame guitar player. So he instilled a lot of really important things in my guitar playing and my musicianship at a young age. And he gave me a 4-track cassette recorder, and I
Yeah,
wasn't able to edit. And then I eventually got a 12-track CD recorder. Anyways, I started with classic rock. I'm a guitar player. I played like blues, like Eric Clapton, and I
yeah,
studied Jimi Hendrix and all of these great guitar players. But then I got more into the singing, and so now I got a little older. I started to hear Chester Bennington and Linkin Park and Incubus and Brandon Boyd and Muse, Matt Bellamy. I started to hear all these rock male tenors, and I fell in love with that part of the storytelling, and of the singing. And my voice developed and developed, and then now with TikTok, I learned my videos do better if I'm doing something that's like impressive. And so once I started that a few years ago, TikTok became my practice place of making my voice better. Each day, I was trying to sing the next hardest thing. And as a result, for years of doing that, and I do all my videos live. Every video you've seen of me singing on TikTok, unless it's a music video that's like I'm grabbing from it, it's a live, you're watching and listening to the performance you're hearing.
yeah.
And that is 110% of my skill. Like that, I couldn't have sang one note higher. And that made me a better singer. So to answer your question, I actually both of your questions. I love pop music and rock music and staying up with the times, and I've been doing that. But I also have studied a lot of the greats from blues and classic rock and all of that. And I grew up in a really cool era of music. And then also the people that influence me and inspire me the most are my peers. The other people, you mentioned Magnolia Park killing it on TikTok. My peers are doing cool things at the same time as me. And
Yeah.
it reminds me of, and I'm not on a legend status like this, but I remember I read Eric Clapton's autobiography, and he was in London, and him and Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and all of them were hanging out, taking drugs and doing cool shit together and sort of competitively, but in a good way, pushing the bar for each other. And sure, I haven't had a chance to take drugs with everybody, but that's a bad joke. But what I'm saying is like there's all of the peers that are sort of doing cool shit online. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, like Julian from Loveless and man, there's just so many people on socials that are my friends or colleagues, whatever you want to call them, that I'm cheering on from the sidelines. But they inspire me. They make me want to try different things, different techniques, and think about my art in different ways, and
Yeah.
push myself to be better. And it's such an exciting time. And it feels like me hanging out with Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix and whatever. Granted, we're
There
not
you
all
go.
greats, but like I feel like we're we're in a cool playing field of like excitement on playing off each other. So yeah, I'm inspired by my peers.
I think on that note, David, I can let you go. I really appreciate your time, which I guess what was about midday for you at the minute,
Yeah,
late
yeah,
morning,
it's
midday.
yeah, almost noon. Got a ton of stuff to do. Tour starts in a few days. I'm gonna rehearse and finish up some songs and for the tour. And
Nice.
yeah, and thank you so much for having me. I
Oh,
really
of
appreciate
course.
it. I'm looking forward to drinking some warm beer with you.
That's how we do it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, craft
Let's
beer's got bigger here, but we still love our room temperature cask ale. Yeah, yeah, man.
let's I do actually. I'm a big Cask Ale fan. So let's kick back some warm beers together
I'd love that,
next
man.
year.
I'd love that. Let's do
Yeah.
it. And yeah, I wish you all the best with this upcoming tour.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.